discussions in determining the recipients of Khums. We know that 50% is called the share of the Sayyids, and they are those who trace their lineage paternally to the family of the Prophet ﷺ. How, according to Islamic law, do we prove that someone is a Sayyid? On page 123 of our book, if you are following with the Arabic texts, the author discusses this very important point in Islamic law. طرق ثبوت النسب. In order to establish lineage, what are the Islamic ways that we can establish that? Sometimes we may not have certainty. If you have certainty that determines your lineage, certainty is always evidence. Today, if someone's father is not known or disputed, and you do DNA testing, that determines beyond any doubt, with full certainty, that this person is your father, your direct biological father, that's a proof. Even if this is not mentioned in any hadith, because back then, this method was not available, but since it generates certainty, Assalamu alaikum, yaqeen, confidence, itmi'nan, then scholars will accept that. But historically, in most societies, they did not really have that type of method to establish ancestry. So what are the common ways? The author says, وَلَا يَثْبُتُ النَّسَبُ إِلَّا بِالْبَيِّنَةِ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ. The first method is religious evidence. What do we mean by religious evidence? Whenever you hear bayyina shar'iyya in Islamic law, what is meant by that? Any ideas?
Islamic proof.
What is Islamic proof? Historically, in most societies and villages, what would be proof in court? The testimony of two just witnesses. In court, anytime two adil witnesses who are known to be trustworthy, reliable, not sinful, they're not infallible, but they don't have a life of sin where you can, not trust them or distrust them. You can trust them. They're trustworthy, they're reliable, they're just. Anytime they come to court and they witness that so-and-so person is a Sayyid, we know that he comes from a Sayyid family. And we don't have reason to reject their testimony. We don't have any reason to reject them, right? We don't have any conflicting evidence. That in itself is called bayyina shar'iyya, and in an Islamic court system or legal system, it's accepted. Historically, this was the most reliable way to determine subjects and rulings. Because in the absence of forensic science, a lot of things had to be determined by trustworthy people. So if these people were known in their community to be reliable, to be trustworthy, they have a history of being just and pious, their testimony in court would be accepted. Even grave crimes like acts of murder. If two people come and they testify in court that X person is the killer, we saw that person with our own eyes, and of course we don't have conflicting evidence, right? That flies in an Islamic court. And it was the most practical system. Yes, Islam did put conditions for certain types of offenses. For example, with adultery, 2 is not enough. You need 4 just witnesses who saw the actual act. So, bayyina shar'iyya, whenever you hear that, it means 2 just witnesses. Unless Islam specified that 2 is not enough, you need more. So that's one way. If we have 2 just, pious people, they come and say, X person comes from the Bani Hashim, comes from the Sayyid family, his father is a Sayyid, paternally he can trace his lineage back to the Prophet, this person becomes eligible to receive Khums. That's one method. Any questions about this method? Yes.